We're seeing some real recovery in the market. We were sort of the first probably to feel the downturn. We have offices across the country, and we provide title insurance in all provinces, all territories. So we really felt the turndown hit in August of 2007, also because we were acting for all the conduit lenders, which really their business sort of slowed down as of August 2007. So we saw quite a dramatic downturn for quite a long period. But then ultimately, basically we saw things start to turn in May, June of last year. There was a bit of a blip. Then during the summer of last year it was quite slow, and then picked up in the fall to the point where the last quarter of 2009 was quite a dramatic increase. Some of that did carry over into the new year. And we do think that things are going to continue on a slow, steady course upwards over the next several months, based on our pipeline of work in the office right now.
Well, it's been a very interesting market, I think, or should I say it hasn't been a very interesting market. Transactions really have not been that plentiful on the marketplace. I think all lenders are struggling to find enough loans to fill their book. And talking to developers, borrowers, we really don't see that the market is going to improve that much this year. So I think it's going to be a slow year for lending pretty much right across the country.
It really hit us because some of our major clients, in particular the conduit lenders, really felt it as soon as the commercial paper market dried up in August of 2007. We felt it with the loss of that business. Now, most of the other lenders did step in throughout the remainder of 2007, but once 2008 hit, there was clearly a drop in the amount of business that was coming in from the lender side of the business. And that gradually started to decline throughout 2008 into 2009.
As far as spreads go, I think this year is going to be a very tight year for spreads. I think the previous few years have been absolutely fabulous for us when most of the banks and life companies disappeared out of the markets. It was really one of the most wonderful, profitable years, and I was saying to my grandkids when I look back, I'm going to say these years of terror and fear in the marketplace were probably some of the most profitable years for myself and us at First National. So I think we're back to a more steady market. Spreads continue to move in, and I think that it's going to be a good year if you're a borrower this year.
Well, I think the value is that it really is a conference focused on what is the lending community planning for the upcoming year. So it really is a message out to the entire market as to what the plans are. And this year the message is very positive. It's that the lenders are back. They want to be back in the market, and it seems like enough of them are going to be back in the market that the spreads should be quite favorable to borrowers. So I think it's an invaluable conference to allow people to come together near the beginning of the year to find out what's going to happen for the next 10 or 12 months. It also, the real estate forum at the end of the year is great as a recap, and it's a much larger forum dealing with many different issues. It's great to focus just on the financing aspects because they're so important to the transaction. They're really the crux of the transaction. Most deals are not going to go forward in this country without the financing, so it's a great way to find out what the future holds for people doing these acquisitions.
Our plans for the upcoming year are to do approximately $1.1 billion in new business across Canada. We've currently got a portfolio of roughly $10 billion, $6.5 billion in Canada, all commercial real estate. We cover all aspects of real estate financing, construction and term loans. As far as Real Capital goes, we think it's a very important event, especially to network with their existing clients and our competitors, and to get more market knowledge as to what's going on locally and what's coming down the pipe.
We're seeing business increasing across the country, definitely in the prairies. BC has improved over the last year in total. And definitely Ontario, we're starting to see the market turn back. I think that's in part because what I'm hearing today from Real Capital is that the lenders are back in the market. They're looking for transactions on a broad basis, and I think there is a bit more impetus for vendors to to be willing to sell. That's really going to be the big question, I think, going forward is, are the vendors in a position that they're going to be forced to sell or have an interest in offloading some properties? It's going back to the core reason for buying insurance or title insurance on a transaction. As title insurance has developed in Canada on the commercial side, it's been used as things were booming. It was used as much for alleviating the costs on a transaction, or more importantly, often the timing of a transaction. We were able to get the deals closed much faster and more cheaply than the traditional method. Now we're seeing people look back also for the core insurance to say, we want to make sure we're remediating risks in all categories possible to make sure all I's are dotted, all T's are crossed on these deals, including on the title issues. And so we are seeing even some owners and developers offering title insurance up as a way to deal with issues, to allow lenders to become more confident and allow the deals to be completed.
Real Capital is an event that I look forward to every year. I've never missed it. I think we've been a sponsor and I've been a participant since it's been started. It's the one event where people come from across Canada to really come, hear what everyone has to say, find very, very interesting panels at all different levels of interest, and also meet their peers, competitors, brokers, and everyone else involved in the industry. And really, it's a good time to see everybody and find out what's going on in the industry. So to me, Real Capital is one of the most important events of the year for our firm and for myself.
And because of moves by government, either through legislation or through funding, for example, we're seeing a lot of increase in energy and infrastructure deals. We've done a large number over the last year in particular of wind farm transaction, solar power farms. We've done a number of hydroelectric facilities, and we're seeing more interest in highway deals, in, as I say, hydro deals, and rail line deals. So we think that energy and infrastructure field is going to continue to grow, and as government pours more and more money into it, we're going to be doing more of those deals. We're cautiously optimistic. It's been a tough 2 years, but we think that things are definitely turning around from what we're seeing internally. What we're hearing today is that 2010 is going to be a year to sort of look at where we stand and to grow gradually and slowly out of this this recession. And I think it's really going to be a true slow and steady recovery. All the speakers today at Real Capital seem to be speaking to that. I think a lot is going to depend on what happens in the U.S. for sure, although I'm hearing that things are better than expected in the U.S. And even the bad news is that if things drop further in the commercial market in the U.S., that's going to create more opportunities for folks here to invest down there. But that overall, the economy is improving down there, which is a good sign. I think it's really risk remediation. It's really allowing the lender, especially right now when lenders are more skittish or concerned about releasing their capital in real estate, to make sure that they feel completely comfortable. You know, when times were good, we would often be called the day before, a few days before a closing, to say we need title insurance, we provide the policy, the deal closes. Now what we're seeing is situations where borrowers are not waiving all conditions on a purchase until their lender 100% signs off on the transaction and agrees to fund, which is not happening until we 100% provide every single coverage that the lender wants to make them feel comfortable. So title insurance we're really seeing being used as that risk remediation tool that allows the lender to be comfortable and allows the funds to flow. I think it's really important. I mean, this is for the lending community, this is really the event of the year, and I think while the Real Estate Forum brings everyone together from the entire industry across the country, there are many different topics covered there. I think this really focuses on the state of the lending community and the state of the lending business across the country, and allows in a one-day forum to focus on that and what's happening. Also like for the fact that it happens early in the year, so people get the message as to what's going to happen throughout the next 10, 12 months.
What will happen in the next 10, 12 months?
What will happen? Well, I think that things are going to be, it's going to be a slow and steady improvement. We have an economist on our board of directors, First American Title, our parent company in the U.S., named Dr. James Doty. He's calling it the square root recovery, that it's going to be sort of a V-shaped recovery that's going into a slow, steady increase. It's not going to be anything dramatic, but that it will, over the next couple of years, improve and get back to a growth mode. It's not great news, but it's certainly better news than we've seen over the last 2 years, for sure. So I'm cautiously optimistic, as I say.